Because I don't want to. Because I don't want to. Because it's stupid mimetic crap that no one references anymore. People don't even like those fucking Johnny Depp movies anymore. No, it's not on topic. In fact, it's the definition of off topic. It's the definition of pulling attention and seriousness away from a complex issue in order to make a stupid joke that... What? Oh, Greetings! I'm the Game OverThinker. And today... Really? And today, our topic will be... Today, our topic is piracy. Arr. So hey, what do you know? This week, someone on the internet went and committed an actual act of games journalism that wasn't about the 1-year anniversary of a bunch of stupid bullcrap. Maybe it was a full moon or something. Anyway, the big video game think piece of note this week came from one Daniel Starkey, who, for the sake of transparency, is someone with whom I'm casually familiar through the course of the business, writing for Boing Boing Offworld, relating a personal narrative of growing up in poverty in the 1990s and how he sometimes resorted to petty theft in order to get by, and he's pretty candid about it, right down to the fact that to a child lacking an adult's perspective on actual value, getting by can in fact refer to things like Pokemon cards. He stops just short of justifying his actions, instead focusing on the negative effects that poverty and the perception thereof often has on the psyche of children too young to fully grasp concept of economics, cost, and capital. I'll admit this kind of thing is always frustrating for me to work over in my head. On the one hand, no, things like toys, games, or even books are not the same thing as bread, water, or medicine. They aren't required for you to live, so there's no explicit argument for making them available through financial transaction only being inherently immoral. Then again, a life without access to any art, culture, or entertainment really isn't much of a life to speak of, so it's difficult. As such, I can't really say I support the kind of choices the author talks about having made, but I understand. Something can be wrong without being evil. That's why we have different levels of enforcement for different crimes, and why you don't, say, get shot for shoplifting. Or at least you're not supposed to. Yeah. In any case, the bulk of the piece, titled Piracy Gave Me a Future, is about how a slightly older but no less financially secure author revived his moral compromise regarding theft by engaging in PC game piracy, with the now grown author reflecting on the moral and philosophical balance or lack thereof to his own past actions. Was the wrongdoing justified to an extent since it helped him gain access to games and other information that stimulated him intellectually and gave him some of the tools he used to get himself out of those circumstances? The author more or less comes down on the side of yes. Now, on the one hand, I can't exactly go there with him. On the other hand, there but for the grace of God go I, you know? I mean, obviously, as a content creator and artist myself, after a fashion, my default position on all such issues is that if you create art or entertainment, you should get paid for it in some amount between what you want and what you can reasonably get. And while it sucks that sometimes that means giant corporations sitting on intellectual property rights also make money, yeah, so be it. No system is perfect and people gotta eat. And I have little to no respect for the radical economic philosophizing of anyone whose perspective is informed primarily by their internet existence. Since, after all, the internet's general opinion on monetization is that since the internet used to be so shit that nothing on it was worth paying for, even though it's better now, you still shouldn't have to pay for some reason. These are the minds to whom we've entrusted our economic future. On the other hand, the piece does help bring into sharper relief one of the key moral contradictions to the piracy debate, both for games and for everything else. Education and cultural exposure are among the best facilitators for getting people out of the kind of poverty that encourages criminal behavior like theft or piracy. But when so much of our information and culture is monetized and thus financially walled off from the people in poverty, well, that's a catch-22, vicious cycle, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But ultimately, from where I sit, that's not an argument for piracy, it's an argument for a radical redefinition of the social safety net to recognize that a base level of intellectual and emotional support could perhaps go hand in hand with economic and medical support. But that's politics, and this is not a political show, it's a video game show. And when it comes to gaming, I'm against piracy overall except in the extreme circumstances, by which I mean something like I'm in North Korea and this is the only way we get anything. And nothing sours me on earnest, sincere reflections like Starkey's like knowing that it will inevitably be co-opted as justification by assholes who proudly pirate not as a reaction to being poor, but because they're lazy, entitled, and greedy. However, I understand that we all have feet of clay when it comes to downloading stuff, and as much as I dislike piracy, I dislike the sorry state of modern gaming that encourages piracy much, much more. Once upon a time, video games were just about the most egalitarian entertainment option possible. Everything cost a quarter. The classics, a quarter. The new hotness, a quarter. Maybe sometimes the brand new space age stuff might cost 2 quarters, but basically everything was a fucking quarter. And if you got good at certain games, you could earn a chance to play for free. What a system. And even when the consoles came rolling in, while cartridges and eventually discs were more expensive, for a while at least there were tiers and levels and options. Not every game cost an arm and a leg, prices would rise and fall with demand, physical rental outlets let players experience variety, and to top it all off, having people of different socioeconomic backgrounds able to influence the marketplace with their purchases undoubtedly contributed to the vastly more diverse variety of games being released in those eras, a diversity that has vastly decreased now that up-to-date gaming is so expensive as to be increasingly limited in accessibility to affluent audiences who can afford super expensive new consoles and games that sit around $60 to $70 price point for years unless you buy them used or pirate them, neither of which option allows money to go to the developers and thus has no real market influence. So not only is the current arrangement driving piracy, it's also helping to create a shittier industry overall. Is there a solution? Well, when exactly did we decide that console gaming was going to be one of those products that only sold 1 or 2 versions of itself? Debating the moral philosophy of digital piracy is one thing, but the fact is no level of law enforcement, which we need more of, just to be clear, is going to be as effective at cutting down on the practice than making games more widely available to potential customers at different socioeconomic levels. Would it really be that prohibitively expensive versus the likely sale for Microsoft, Sony, or even Nintendo to manufacture a no-frills version of their consoles with the bells and whistles stripped out to just play games, and/or sample price versions of the bigger games cut down to their core elements? The auto industry makes that model work, so does fine art, food, clothing, all kinds of other products. Stealing is wrong. Piracy is wrong. You shouldn't pirate games. However, piracy is both a symptom and a disease of this modern industry and the shitty place it's found itself in. And the only way out of it is to find solutions to those problems that acknowledge the new realities of this business. And if doing so solves a whole bunch of our other long-standing problems, well, isn't that a good thing?